How do you make a business plan for your startup? In this video, we're going to explain what a business plan or Proforma is, the benefits of it, and how to use our financial template to save you hours of work. Watch until the end to learn step by step how to put together your own business plan to project your future profits. Now, before we get started, Mike Tyson once said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." Business plans are the same. They're especially important for companies that want to raise money or grow quickly. Business plans or proformas help you project your future revenues and profits given a few critical assumptions. Your assumptions need to be real, otherwise you'll be punched in the mouth when you launch your product and the market dictates that you were off. To help make your business plan more realistic, we've created a template in Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. Our template allows you to project your company's revenues across multiple subscriptions or services, as well as multiple products. The template has tons of charts and diagrams to visualize your profits, capital expenditures or CapEx, employee salaries, company expenses, and so on. Now, for subscriptions, we track the lifetime value, cost of acquisition, lifetime period for your subscribers, as well as other key subscription-focused metrics. For products, our model allows you to take into account returns, marketplace fees, and other typical product-related expenses. Now, let's dive into the spreadsheet so we can show you how to use the template and create your own business plan.
We're very excited you're using our business plan template. After you enter all the data for your company in the information sheet, subscription ABC, product ABC, overhead, and summary sheets, you're going to get all the different visualizations that we have created so that you can summarize the performance of your company to investors and partners. We include anything from profits to net income to contribution to CapEx. Plus, we have also modularized the data so you can very easily pull the information that you want to be able to generate your own charts. Here, for example, we visualize the revenues and expenses of all your subscriptions and services across the 10 years on a quarterly model. Further down, we do the same thing for all of your products. So our business plan template allows you to separate multiple products and multiple subscriptions into one simple business plan. So let me show you how you can get started and enter your company information. To begin using this business plan template, you need to enter your company name and your start year on the information tab. Anything in blue means that it's a number that you need to input. We've added this validated checkbox so you can check it off once you're sure that the data that you've entered is absolutely correct. Now, the static inputs are inputs that do not change across time. Dynamic inputs like inflation rate, the credit card fees that you might receive, and your rent increase rate might change over time, so we allow you to enter a default value here, or you can customize it by entering any number that you want later on in the table. Once you enter these numbers, we're going to start and enter the information for your subscriptions, and later we're going to enter the information for your products. This business plan that we have created for you basically allows you to enter different subscriptions or services in different sheets or tabs. Similarly, you can enter different product details in different sheets. That way, each product and subscription is sort of maintained separately and the numbers are not commingled. In the summary sheet, we present you all the numbers for all your subscriptions and services and products that your company offers. We will mix your subscriptions with your products along with the company-wide expenses that you will experience across time. We later in the summary sheet allow you to contribute towards your capital investments so that you can see how across time you're going to pay off the capital expenditures that you've generated to bring your company to reality. All of this information is presented to you at the very bottom where you can see basically in what year or in what quarter is your break-even point, meaning in how many quarters are you going to be able to get back all your investments and then have true profits. Further below at the bottom of the summary sheet, we also have an internal rate of return, so you can basically identify if this is going to be a pretty prosperous venture or not. All of this data then feeds into the charts sheet where we visualize for you all of the numbers and data that you've entered into the business template. So let me show you how you can start and enter your company's information and later start entering the details for your first subscription or service. After you enter your expected inflation rate, credit card fees, rent increase rate, so on and so forth, click on the subscription A sheet. At the very top of the subscription sheet, you can enter the name of your service. If you're in a marketplace like the Android App Store or the Apple App Store or Amazon or what have you, you can enter the marketplace fee here, any commissions that you're looking to give to your salespeople, and the number or the percentage of transactions that you have that are credit card based. If you, for example, are selling on Amazon, 100% of your sales are credit card transactions because no one pays you in cash. Now, subscriptions are very different from products. When a user subscribes to your service, they subscribe to your service for a number of quarters. That number of quarters we call the lifetime quarters of the member. So for example, in this model, the subscriber is expected to pay your fee, your subscription fee, for 4 quarters, so 1 year. And at the end of that year, at the end of those 4 quarters, we expect the subscriber to pay a total of $300. So our model basically allows you to enter the new number of subscribers that you expect each quarter, and we will calculate for you the number of active subscribers that will remain in your platform. As you can see, the number of active subscribers actually plateaus because as new members join, other members are going to cancel, they're going to churn, and so your active subscribers flattens out. The amortization of your subscribers we have hidden in this subtable, but you can open these rows and visualize and see how we crunch the numbers. But that's the main difference when it comes to a subscription and service business plan versus a products company business plan. Now, if you need to change the number of new subscribers or subscriptions that come into your service in a given quarter, you can just enter that number here. Once you enter a custom number, it's gonna be highlighted in blue and bolded, so it's very easy for you to see that you've actually entered a unique number different from the default that you enter here at the beginning of the table. If you want to undo that input that you've entered, simply copy the previous cell and paste on the number that you've entered, and you should be able to go back. Now, if I want to change this to a subscription where the lifetime quarters of a member is 8 quarters or 2 years, I just enter 8 versus 4. Now, further below, we list all the expenses that are associated with a subscription. Most importantly, a subscriber has 2 types of expenses. When the expenses related to when they join, for example, anything that has to do with advertising, marketing, so on and so forth, those are the expenses that are a dollar amount for each new subscriber. At the same time, there are expenses related to an active subscriber. These are more like operation or support based expenses that you can list out here. Now, if you want to add an extra expense, you can always right click in the middle row, insert a row above it, copy the values and paste in your new row. Don't add a new row at the very top or at the very bottom. So this is whatever expense. The reason you don't want to add a row at the top or the bottom is because our summations basically include everything from the top to the bottom. So if you add your row in the middle, it's going to be automatically added to all of our formulas. Now, after you've entered your new subscriber expenses and your active subscriber expenses, we will do all the math for you and calculate everything down to the operating income of your subscription. Now, to get your subscription started, you also need to make some capital investments. You need to develop the software, you need to develop the service, etc., etc. That's where you enter the capital expenditures that you have for your software here in the other section. Now, if you expect this software to receive an update 5 years down the line, make sure to enter another CapEx investment 5 years down the line because you're expecting to create another version of the same service. Further below, we have the yearly summary of all the information that you've entered in this subscription A. The beautiful thing about our model is if you learn how to use the subscription A sheet, subscription B and subscription C are basically identical, but it allows you to keep all of your data separate so they're not commingled. And all of these subscription incomes, expenses, so on and so forth, they're going to be presented to you in the summary sheet in the subscriptions section. So you can see how many new subscribers you have, how many active subscribers you have, the revenues and expenses for each subscription separately. Now, the products section works the same way, except that there's a few elements that we've added to customize the model for products. To begin using the products tab, make sure you've clicked on product A or product B or product C. They're all identical. And enter the name of your product. Maybe it's a shampoo. You want to list out your marketplace fee, how much you pay in sales commissions to your sales team, and the number of credit card transactions that you're expecting. Unique to a product is that products also have an inventory fee, a resale price in case there's a return that occurs, and a cost to process a return. So when you enter the product price in the model, you can also change the price each quarter going forward. Now, what we've done is we've also allowed you to enter unique inputs into each quarter. So if you want to change the price in a given quarter, you can enter 380, for example, and that number is going to be highlighted. If you want to undo that, you simply copy and paste the previous cell into it and you should be all set. You've undone that change. You can also enter the number of products that you expect to sell each quarter for the next 10 years. Now, you will notice this gray row called inflation. What we do is we basically add inflation to each of the expenses for your products or subscriptions. So for a single unit of a product that you're looking to sell, here you will list out the cost of each subpart for your product. So if you're selling shampoos, you might write here the cost of ingredient A, ingredient B, ingredient C. We take the liberty to increase these costs over time with inflation, so you can have a really accurate measurement of your revenues and expenses. If you want to turn off the inflation feature, you can go back to the information sheet and update the rate of inflation and change it to 0 or whatever you think inflation is going to be. Now let's go back to product A. You enter your unit costs for the different parts of your product. You also have to enter how much are you expecting the processing, packaging, shipping, or any other operational cost for each product of yours to cost. Once you enter that, you can enter any marketing or advertising related expenses as well. Remember, if you want to add a row, make sure to add the row in the middle, not at the top or the bottom. You just simply have to copy the row and paste it into the new one that you created, and you can enter whatever new expense you have. Now, once you enter the costs associated with every aspect of your product, this would be just for a single unit. We will do the math and calculate your total revenues and all the numbers are very clearly laid out in the business plan that we've created for you. Further below, if you expect to receive returns, please enter the rate of returns that you're looking to have for your product. If this is a product with a really high return rate, you can enter 5%, or you can enter 2% or 0.5%, whatever is your expected return rate. Now, these numbers will change based on the inputs that you entered here, related to the resale price and the cost to process a return. Now that we've taken the analysis for returns out of the picture, we will present to you the operating income. This is basically how much your product A will generate every quarter for the next 10 years. Now, before you can actually sell your product, you need to invest in creating the product. You have capital expenditures. You need to make the product mold. You need to create relationships with suppliers. You need to create the brand and the packaging design, etc., etc. Those expenses you want to list out here in the CapEx or capital expenditures section. And if you're looking to create an upgrade to your product 5 years down the line, remember to enter what you think it will cost to upgrade your product 5 years down the line. Further down in the business plan, we have a yearly summary. Now, again, the great thing about using product A is that by familiarizing yourself with this sheet, you can then use product B and product C because they're the same sheet. However, all the data is kept separate, it's not commingled, and the numbers are presented to you in this summary sheet where you can see the number of products sold, the revenues, expenses, returns, and operating income for each of your products. Now, we've talked about your subscriptions and services, and now we've talked about your products. But we have not talked about the overall expense that your company has. So go to the overhead sheet and you will see an employee expenses section. What we're going to try to do is calculate the total salary and bonuses that all your employees are going to cost. We're going to add that to the overall company overhead that your company has. So anything that has to do with like transportation, offices, external expenses, so on and so forth. And then we're going to add all your capital expenses to actually create your company. Once we add those numbers up, that becomes your overhead expenses. So let's get started. Your company will have a lot of different types of employees. It's going to have software developers, marketers, designers, engineers, so on and so forth. For each role, you want to give it a name, for example, engineers, and you want to say how many engineers are you looking to hire for the next 10 years. So let's say you're going to have 5 engineers for every quarter for the next 10 years. Now that's kind of unrealistic. You're going to hire and fire engineers. So you can enter the number of engineers that you're expecting to have for each quarter as you move forward. Any custom input that you write on this table is going to be highlighted in blue. And of course, as I showed you earlier, you can always change the default value by changing these inputs at the beginning of the table. This is basically your head count. How many employees are going to be at your company every quarter for the next 10 years. Now, there's a section that we've added that we call per head, per role expenses. For each individual employee of a given role, you need to enter their salary, their bonuses, and what is the cost of equipment for this particular employee to be able to carry their task. Once you enter their salary, their bonus, and equipment costs, we do the math for payroll taxes and anything else. So in this business plan template, we'll present to you the basic total expenses that your employees are going to have when you take into account salary, bonuses, all of that stuff. Now there's another section called per head expenses, where you want to list out the workday expenses. So for example, if an employee is given $30 of meals per day or drinks or health supplies, you also want to add basically monthly costs related to every employee in your company, For example, healthcare, parking, gym. These are expenses that have nothing to do with the role. They just have to do with the number of individuals in your company. So once you enter these expenses, we'll do the math and find the total employee expenses for your company. We're also going to do the same thing for any expense related to your company that has nothing to do with employees, specifically your office expense, your rent expense. You need to write in this cell in row 100 the yearly cost of rent for office A, office B, office C. If you have more offices, you can add an extra row here in the middle and enter the office like you've done in other parts of the model. Once you enter these details or any per year company expense and any external expenses related to your company, external expenses are, for example, an external PR firm, an external donation, an external accounting firm that you hire, then we basically present to you the total company overhead summed up. So by combining the total company overhead and your total employee expenses, we can now then calculate what is the overall company expense that you're gonna have. Now, to put your company together, you need to make some capital investments. You need to buy furniture, you need to buy company cars, you need to retrofit a building. All of these expenses you can add in your CapEx section for Q1 of the year that you start. But remember, in about 5 years, you might have to do another upgrade. So put capital for that future expense. Now that I've showed you how to use the overhead sheet, in the subscription sheet, we're going to take all the revenues from your subscriptions, all the revenues from your products, all the expenses from your company overhead, and put all of that information together so that you can see what your net income is. Lastly, we take all of this data and we visualize it for you in the chart sheet so you can very easily present to investors, partners, potential customers the trajectory that your company has, specifically when it comes to the subscriptions and services that you're going to provide, but also the products and other services that you're going to provide that are more tangible. Thank you, and if you have any questions or if you identify some errors in this model, please click here on the cover sheet and click on the feedback button and drop us a note in case there's any suggestions that you may have. Thank you so much and good luck with your business plan.